Hello, everybody. Welcome to Jen's Den, the very first episode. I am Jennifer Blankel, your certified relationship and marriage coach. And on Jen's Den, we will be talking all about relationships, what lifts us up, what challenges us, and what helps us rise and thrive together. So today I'm super excited to have my first guest here, Keith Sconiers. I've known Keith for many, many years. Keith is a husband, he's a father, he's a excellent friend, and he's a very successful entrepreneur. And Keith and we struggled today because we wanted to talk about so many different topics, and it was hard, right? We struggled a little bit to figure out what to talk about. So I want to introduce my guest, Keith, and we're going to talk about, is this a good fit? Hey, Keith,
Hey,
welcome.
How you doing?
Good.
Good.
Thanks for being here.
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. So, is it a good fit? You know, I have the honor of working mostly with people that are already married or in a long-term committed relationship.
Yeah.
And it excites me to focus on, the earlier stages of relationship, dating, or, even if you are committed and you're moving towards a level of seriousness. This is such a killer topic.
Yeah.
And I think it's worth mentioning, Keith is married.
Yes.
He's got a son. He's got a beautiful wife. I'm married. I got 2 teenage boys. My husband is handsome. So I want to mention that for context because we're gonna have this conversation today. And Keith and I are coming from the mindset and experience of married people. And we're honored to talk to the space of, the early stages.
There we go.
So, Keith,
Yeah.
what do you think makes a good fit? Like when you're really trying to answer the question, is this a mate? Is this partner? Is this person I'm hanging out with in this capacity
Yeah.
a good fit?
Yeah.
What do you think we should be looking at or paying attention to?
I can't help but think about, I'm 6'6", everyone that's watching, and I can't fit in every car that's out there on the market. Subaru, it's not an option. But I can't help but think about how important it is to really know yourself, because you and I were talking the other day, and I was saying that, we don't give dating the respect that it deserves. It's
No
like,
kidding. That's so true.
It's like we talk about, like, we're both married, we're in successful relationships, which doesn't mean that they don't, like, it's a daily thing that we continue to work on, right, in all ways. But I've also been divorced, right? I've also been in relationships that have, like, crashed and burned. And I think that we don't give dating the respect that it deserves. And part of that is because we don't actually know ourselves. Mm-hmm. We don't even know what a good fit is. We just have this wiring of like, man, she's cute, or he's handsome, or he's whatever, or she's whatever. And we don't take the time to slow down and say, before we like engage on a deep level with someone, like, what am I all about? Like, what are my convictions? Like, what kind of food do I really truly like?
Right,
Right.
right.
It's like, is this person going to make me eat sushi? Which I'm a sushi fan now because my wife turned me on to sushi. But before that, I was not a sushi fan. But I say that all to say is, I think that to know what a good fit is, we really have to understand ourselves. And we really don't. We enter into relationships with so many triggers or so many landmines that people step on, and then it doesn't work out, and it's really not their fault. Like, they didn't know.
Yeah.
And a lot of times we didn't know that we had this really important need, and because we didn't know we had it. We don't know how to communicate about it. We don't know how to advocate for ourselves. We don't know how to ask for it. We feel shame. Like there's so much that goes into dating.
It's true.
Right. There's so much that goes into knowing who we are as individuals before we jump into what I would believe to be a successful relationship. And I've experienced it. It's extremely painful when it happens. So
Yeah. Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah.
That's personal, vulnerable stuff. So
Yeah.
thanks for putting that on the table.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting, like you said, we're oftentimes I think it's correct to say the majority of the time we are making this kind of lifelong decision when we don't know ourselves.
Yeah.
And at the same time, as an advocate for love and relationships,
Yeah.
I'm one that is for people finding that opportunity for relationship, as early on as they want,
Okay.
and being able to still not take so much risk in their selection, even though they're maybe not as mature as they could be because of their age or they, what I'm trying to say is, it's a predicament because oftentimes people get married in their 20s or nowadays it's 30s or 40s. I mean, I know, as time goes on, we're getting married later.
Yeah.
But, for the most part, we get married young. We make these commitments young,
Yeah.
And there's obviously biological evolutionary reasons for that. I mean, I remember my parents giving me a lot of heat in my early 30s, like, when are we going to have the grandkids coming
Okay,
along,
right, yeah.
So I think, not to go off on too many tangents here, but there's a timeliness around building a family and, childbearing and all of that also puts us in a certain timeline. So, I'd love to talk about how do we help guide people that, no matter what age you are,
Yeah.
no matter what stage, because I mean, we all mature at different speeds, right? Some of us become aware earlier. Some of us take more decades. So, how do we allow ourselves to take the risk on love and commitment and sacrifice that comes with all the risk while not knowing ourselves completely, And I think that kind of circles back to, the title, is this a good fit?
Yeah.
How do we break that down and take a hard look at that without all the knowledge and wisdom that we haven't gotten yet?
Yeah.
Like what are the key, I've definitely got, thoughts and opinions on this. But I'd love to ask you, what do you think are the important elements of a partner in being able to say, is this person good for me?
Well, I think one thing that we have to recognize is that good for you and feeling good to you are two different things.
Amen. Yes. Okay. Right? Yeah. Love that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Expand.
Well, example is I'm a former Division I athlete who played on championship teams, played for very demanding coaches, and my wife was not involved in sports.
Yeah.
And so the language of how I might vacation, how I work is completely foreign to her.
Yeah.
And one of the challenges that I experienced just in our relationship in general is this question, like, what is work for and what does it mean? For her, it's a completely different experience than it is for me.
For sure.
Right? And so that could not feel very good when you're a business owner and you have COVID and you have money and you already have a child, right? And you have responsibilities. I have the tendency to lean into, like, I'll work 80 hours if I have to. That's not who my wife is.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean she's not good for me.
Right.
Right?
Right.
We sometimes when we look at, or when we talk about like values, we tend to want people to be like us.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And if we come into a relationship with that mentality, then we will potentially drive people away who are very good for us unintentionally, because they're just different from us. So like we can't really recognize like what is actually good for us.
Yeah.
What feels good is not always what's good.
That's a lovely point you're making, Keith. Yeah. Because my mind and heart also go to, you know, the power and value of certain alignments. When you
Yeah.
are, you know, when there's certain aspects of your you know, your being or your belief system
Yeah.
that, you know, you really would truly, you know, value
Yeah.
alignment from.
Yeah.
And I absolutely love and respect your example about you and your wife, and that profound difference being, you know, an example of something that could feel completely different and even opposite. And you could have said, oh, she's opposite from me.
Yeah.
But you've learned that it's the opposite of that. It's quite valuable.
Yeah.
And was there a time that you didn't know that, and then you had to learn that, or did you happen to know that throughout your whole relationship with your
yeah.
current wife?
Oh yeah, no, certainly it was definitely something that I would say I had to learn, right? And our relationship has been very challenging in getting to that place, right? And there was times where we didn't know we were going to make it because of what I thought the differences meant, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're in an interracial relationship. We come into it with different cultural backgrounds, different experiences, different, not really different values, but just a different experience to what life is supposed to look like.
Yeah.
What vacations are supposed to look like. I wouldn't say that we grew up in a different economic like upbringing in terms of middle class or whatnot, or poor or whatever. That wasn't really the issue. The issue was she went to vacations once or twice a year with their family, even regardless of how much money they had, right? Whereas we really didn't do that in my family, right? We had a different experience. Like my experiences with my parents was like I went to work with my dad. So I was always getting kicked out of school, so I couldn't go to school. They didn't allow me on campus, so I had to go make money with my dad. So like work was so much a part of my upbringing when I encountered my parents. Like my mom was a real estate agent, and she threw newspapers at 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. And so I went to work with her. I went to open houses with her. So while my wife had this experience with her parents of being able to enjoy vacations and the coast and camping and things like that, I had to learn how to do those things. And her wanting me to go and do those things felt like I was violating what was really important to me over here, which was like work and making money and providing and all of those things. And the journey that I had to go on was getting to the place of recognizing that I was blessed with my wife because she brought everything to the table that I didn't personally possess.
Right.
Right. And so I think that we talk about, and we will talk more about like what does history have to do with it, but I think that the reason why maturity is so important, because in maturity, we come to this place of self-awareness that we don't have it all figured out, and we have areas that we need to continue to grow, and that someone who's different than us can still be very, very, very good for us.
Yes.
I think also that if we aren't mature, immaturity leads to prematurity, which in prematurely entering into relationships that can become permanent because we don't know who we are. We don't know our weaknesses. We don't know what we need to know to be good for someone else. I think that's also another question that we need to ask as we're stepping into the dating scene. Because I'd gone through a divorce earlier in my, before meeting my wife. And one day I woke up and decided I was ready to date. And I met her that evening at an AT&T store. And the funny thing about that is you and I were in the lobby today, and I'm in here at Coin, and I don't have any reception down here, and all I can think about is the Verizon commercial. But anyway, can you hear me now? That's kind of the thing that we feel as couples too, right? Is like, can you hear me now?
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
Can you hear me now? Do you have a signal,
Yeah.
right? That was, that stuff happens in relationships. But I think that to get back to what I was talking about is one day I woke up and said, I'm ready to date, right? And I had all these, landmines, that my now wife would eventually step on that I didn't know existed and she didn't know existed either, right? And so I think that the maturity piece is important because we don't want to prematurely enter into a relationship. And we want to be able to ask ourselves the question as we step into the dating world, not only are they good for me, but am I good for them? Can I be good for them? And we don't know that if we're not doing the work personally that we need to do.
Right. But we're imperfect.
We are imperfect, and we are greedy.
It's an imperfect
and we're
world.
Selfish.
Yeah. No, I'm kind of a stickler on this.
Yeah.
My brain is kind of really wanting to analyze this and break it down into
Yeah.
layers, because at the end of the day, people are still gonna. We're wired to get overly excited about love and commitment.
Yeah.
It plays out in our, chemicals.
Yeah.
It plays out in our neurological system.
Yeah.
And so that's not going to change drastically. People are not going to wait until they're older and wiser to make this kind of commitment. I just know it.
Yeah.
In a perfect world, sure. But, I do feel like there's, a set, and not to put anybody in a box or any concept in a box, but, I do feel like there's important elements that any couple does really need to look at.
Like what?
So I'm kind of running through, where is somebody at? Like, are you the couple that's looking at, having children? Are you the couple that, kids aren't really a factor? Because my brain and heart go into all these different directions depending on that. I think that values around communication, around openness, are big. I kind of scanned my brain and heart real quick right there, and I wasn't expecting to say that, but that comes up for me a lot because I feel like you can agree on a lot of things. You can be similar in all sorts of ways, but if you, for example, if one of you is an avoidant, and the other one is, now I'm kind of touching on attachment styles that come from our childhood and history. But if you got one, super avoidant and one maybe anxious attachment person that's constantly, clamoring for that connection and that attention and, to be seen and heard, I do feel like you could have all these other things in place. But so I guess what I'm trying to say is, our attachment styles. I don't know if that's the most important. If I believe that, but I think that that's really up there.
Yeah. Why is it important though? How do you see attachment styles play out in relationships, and where do you think that comes in when we're talking about dating?
Yeah, great question. So, by the way, our attachment styles are based on attachment theory that says we based on how we're raised, how we're cared for, even from the moment we're born, how we're nurtured or cared for, or how we might lack that attention, forms a general style inside of ourselves that provokes us to think a certain way and act a certain way and feel a certain way and believe a certain way. For example, I'm adopted, and I was in a foster home the first 3 years of my life, and I have a tremendous family. I'm also left with abandonment scars, so I have, I can be the clamorer in my marriage.
Okay.
I can be the one that's chasing, that connection and attention. When oftentimes that's not the solution, or the most effective approach. But that comes from my deep-rooted childhood attachment style. So, and I think that if I'm thinking about, spending your life with somebody, that's the attachment style is a big daily play out, even though, it's not something we really consciously think about.
Yeah.
What do you think your attachment style is, Keith?
Well, I'm so glad you asked me. I was waiting for that. I actually.
Are you secure? Are you anxious? Are you avoidant? Are you? I think there's a fourth one. Why am I blanking on that? You can also be a combination. But yeah, I think that the main ones are anxious, avoidant, secure. I do feel like there's a fourth one.
Did you say anxious?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anxious, would also be
ambivalent.
Oh, I think ambivalent, or a word that is equal to that.
Right. Yeah, that's a great question, and I'm so glad that you asked me, because I have a coach that I meet with on Saturdays, and 2 Saturdays ago, he had me go to, I want to say it was attachmentproject.org or .com.
Okay.
There's a place there where you can get a free assessment.
Okay.
I don't have any kickback or any partnership with the company as of yet.
Yeah,
but,
as of yet.
But you can get a free report that says you answer some questions. And honestly, I filled it out 2 weekends ago, and I was so surprised what it said. It said I have a secure attachment.
I believe it.
You believe that?
Yeah, I also have the honor of knowing you personally and for a duration of time.
Yeah. I would say that would be very different 5 years ago.
Why?
Because I've gone to lots of therapy. I've hired coaches. You've been able to coach me. I've learned a lot from you. I am a voracious learner when I learn or I discover that I have, call it a wound, a flaw, a new perspective that I need to adopt. I will work to heal, to understand, to gain perspective. And I would say years ago, I don't know what it would have been, but maybe avoidant was probably what it would have been. So I was surprised. I was excited to have be labeled as secure attachment. And I have, if you do the assessment and you get your report back and it says you have a secure attachment style, that does not absolve you of the responsibility of continuing to do work. 100%. It does not mean that someone else is the problem.
Right.
Secure, anxious, avoidant, whatever it might be for you, we all have work to do.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. And I love knowing that you're secure attachment, because you've been through a lot, and it could be easy for you to have, either a combination, and, there's no good or bad, right or wrong, obviously, in any of these styles.
Yeah.
And at the same time, I wouldn't be surprised if you had said your style was something different. Just knowing the levels of challenge and tribulation you've personally been through.
Yeah.
And I love that you also said, hey, if you take this test and you show up as secure, you don't just let yourself fully off the hook.
Right.
Because, a secure attachment style means that you are in a place inside of yourself where you don't feel that level of kind of fear and anxiety when you feel, or you at least perceive yourself, whether it's really happening or not, but you perceive something shifting in your relationship or something shifting in your partner where it equals the connection slipping or the connection not being as strong as you need or want it to be. And that secure attachment doesn't mean that you're the perfect partner.
Right.
I mean, I'm not saying, but, it just
I'm
simply.
close.
Yeah, I know. I was trying to make a cute little
moved my
joke and
wife's car
I
this
couldn't find my
morning.
words.
Yeah.
But it definitely means that you have a tendency to feel, in general speak, comfortable
Yeah.
when things shift or change or,
Yeah.
your relationship isn't acting as you're expecting,
Yeah.
But yeah, it's interesting too. And I love that you gave the resource to take the test. I also love the attachment theory book, and I get no kickback either.
Yeah.
But yeah, the attachment theory book is a very easy read. That gives you more insight as well. And it's interesting to also not only absorb these attachment styles, but really learn how we have a tendency to attract certain attachment styles
Yes.
based on our attachment style.
Yeah.
Which to me is personally fascinating as a person and as a relationship coach.
Yeah.
I could talk about this from a personal aspect too.
Yeah.
So we're going to take a break and we'll be right back.
Awesome.
I forgot.
I was
forgot to
going
put-
there too.
I forgot to put a break in there.
Yeah, I was going in there. I was going to go there too, and I was
Yeah.
going to say when we get back, let's
Yeah.
talk about core. Like, what do values have to do with it? Core values, right?
Core values have to do with attachment?
No, what do they have to do with dating?
Oh, yeah.
Is this a good fit?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
All right, we're back. We are back after the break, and I am Jennifer Blankel, your certified relationship and marriage coach. I'm here with my guest, Keith Sconyers. We are talking today about, is it a good fit? Is this partner of mine that I already have or potential partner really a good fit for me? We just got back from a break we just got back previously talking about attachment styles, which we develop from the way that we're taken care of as infants. And so Keith and I were talking about that previously. What do you want to talk about next, Keith?
Well, before we talk about anything else, I want to talk about what you alluded to before we went on break, and you were talking about how you may have a tendency to attract like a different style and have a habit of doing so. And you may be in a place of like, why do I keep having these same relationships? Like the same dynamic continues to show up with different people.
Right.
Right. And I think I had a mentor one time say that opposites attract, and then when you get married, they attack. Right?
Ooh, I kind of want to unpack that.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah. But I think you were talking about how that attachment style really does shape what dating looks like.
Yeah, it's interesting. So I would say that, well, just to share some personal here, my husband and I, we're opposites. We are so opposite in
Yeah.
our attachment style. And I feel and believe that my husband has the same attachment style as my dad. And we all know that, there's
Yep.
I mean, I deeply believe in it. There's there's this whole theory
Yeah.
that we marry
Mm-hmm.
a parental unit,
Yeah.
essentially.
Mm-hmm.
My husband is a lot like my father, wonderfully so.
Yeah.
And I would say they do share a similar, if not the same, kind of attachment style, which is opposite of mine. I'm anxious. And I think that, it's interesting because when I dated, before I found my current husband, I tended to be with my attachment style.
Oh.
I attracted at one point, this was mainly in my 20s, I attracted my own attachment style.
Yeah.
And what I found in those relationships was we had a lot of fun together. We could really connect emotionally.
Yeah.
But man, when things hit the fan, it was just,
Chaos.
oh my gosh, it was complete chaos. Nobody was stable.
Yeah.
There was just very little stability.
Yeah.
And so I do believe, and there's a lot of, proof and data on this as well, but I do believe that there's both massive benefit and massive strain and challenge to attracting and being with and navigating a partner with an opposite style. So I hope I'm making sense. Am I making sense?
Yeah, you're making sense. Yeah.
Because it happens all the time. And it comes up a lot in my marriage coaching sessions, and it comes up a lot in my own marriage. So, but I think I want to say that there's a lot of value there, and I think the value is like the prize that you get for being able to successfully navigate this strain that comes with it, you being opposite.
Yeah. How do you do that, though? It sounds like you need to get to a place in your relationship, and I don't know where this comes up in the dating process, but you have to be able to name what that is to be able to navigate it. Right? Because if you can't name it, then you're on the crazy cycle with the person.
Naming what? Your coping mechanism? Your
That-
strategy? Or
Naming the coping mechanism, because if we're in a relationship and I'm secure attachment and you're anxious attachment and you want to like lean in and I want to like
lean out. Yeah.
then that's going to feel like something. And maybe people exit very good relationships that could be healed because they don't necessarily know how to name what that feeling is.
Amen. I feel
Right?
strongly about that.
Yeah.
I feel strongly about what you just said. That's why I do what I do.
Yeah. Okay.
It's the number one reason I do what I do.
Yeah, okay.
I'm a big believer in it.
Yeah.
I believe, hey, divorce, breaking up, remarrying, getting back together, all of it, it doesn't matter to me. But I do. I feel strongly about the fact that so many people do leave a good relationship or something that could be good if they had known something.
Yeah.
Or been able to perceive something a certain way. So I love that you said that.
Yeah.
Where do we go from here? What are we talking about?
Well, I think we were talking about like what do core values have to do with it when you're trying to discern whether this is a good fit.
Yes.
In all of your work of working with couples, even companies, obviously, and we'll stick to more on the personal side today, but where do you see core values play out in relationships? And like, is there any data or any work that you've done when you look at people and how they view the world core values wise? Like, is there something there in terms of, is that something we need to be looking at when we're on, in the dating
Always.
process, when we're going out there into the world and looking for that partner? And how do we I think it's one thing to understand what our core values are, but then like, how do you actually make it real?
Yeah.
Right? Just like a company, you can have core values on the wall, but that's not what's in the hall.
Right.
Right? You could say that you believe this, and this as an individual, but like, how does that show up when it's 8:00 at night, we've both been working all day, and somebody's got to make dinner?
Right.
Like,
Right.
how do your core values play into that, right? So how do you coach maybe people who are new entrants into the dating world? Bless your heart if you're in that place, because it's tough to do so in this world that we're in.
Yeah.
Can you speak to that?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I think it's easy to talk about values as a concept, and I think it's easy, like you mentioned, to create corporate posters,
Yeah.
but you're not really executing it in the hall.
Yeah.
And I think that it's easy also to go to the internet and read up on what are the general values a couple should be looking at, and I think that can do you a world of good.
Yeah.
I also think when it comes down to it, though, that our core values are so extremely personal that if you were to limit your thought processing of your own values based on a certain standard set of values, you're likely going to cut out something very valuably important to yourself. Yeah.
Tell me more.
I think that, I don't think, we all know that we're complex.
Yeah.
I mean, humans, we're complex.
Yeah.
And we need boxes of concepts to think through and organize our thoughts. And I think that, a standard set of values to look at, like, for an example, the couple that is getting married and knows that they want to have a family right away.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
I would be very motivated to focus on parenting values
Oh, okay.
in that kind of situation.
Oh, yeah,
okay,
yeah.
amongst other things, but of course my mind and heart would go straight to that
Yeah.
because they're about to have their first baby.
Yeah.
Blah blah blah. So, obviously, I think it's very valuable to look at set standard values based on the stage of life or the circumstance that a couple is going through. But man, I think we do so much better for ourselves. And this, I think this is done over time and over maturation. But, really getting to know oneself on a deep enough level to really uncover the deeper values inside yourself, which are underneath our needs. And honestly, I think, we walk this world for most of our lives not really understanding our needs and what we truly value most.
Yeah.
And so I mentioned the needs because I think that that's the starting place of being able to begin peeling back the layer process of determining one's values, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So, and we're running out of time on this segment, so we're going to have to definitely pick back up on this.
Yeah.
So I want you to know, audience, thank you for tuning into this. We appreciate you for being here, and you can expect to see my guest Keith Sconiers back here shortly to continue this conversation and others. And thank you for being here on
What
Jen's
are we going to
Den.
be talking about next?
We are going to be talking about, does history matter?
Yeah.
What's history got to do with it?
Yeah.
How does our upbringing and childhood experience truly impact our adult relationships? So we'll be talking about that next.
I wonder if the Tina Turner Foundation or family will allow us to sample her music for that next section.
Maybe.
What's history got to do with it?
So I'm going to have to do, hold on, I got to do how do I close this? So thank you again for being here for the first episode of Jen's Den. We'll see you next time.